Your soil on the surface may look completely fine, but below ground, it could be heavily compacted, nutrient void, along with biologically dead. And if this is the case, no amount of fertilizer, compost is going to make the difference. So today's video, we're going to look at 5 scientifically proven ways to improve your soil immensely when it comes to its health in general. Now, if you don't know who I am, hi, hello, my name's Ashley. I have a bachelor's of science in soil science. I like to take said science and apply it to all things plants. I've been doing this for about 15 years, but there is an entire separate platform out there that could actually help you with plants, soil or plant science wise. And that's what I like to call Skillshare, today's sponsor. Now, if you don't know who Skillshare is, which I'm sure many of you do, they've been a sponsor of this channel for literal years at this point, and for good reason. You can utilize Skillshare, which is an online learning platform, to do a number of different courses. These courses can obviously consist of gardening, but they also can include personal development, artistic abilities to do things, or learning new talents. And the best part is that this is all done from the comfort of my couch.
As a gardener, there are several different courses you can look at, but one that is most suitable for this time of year is Gardening 101, a guide for growing and caring for plants. It's done by a herbalist and farmer, and it is literally a 101 course that goes over high level everything you need to know in regards to growing plants, either ornamental and or edible ones. Now, with that being said, if you want to take advantage of a free 1 month subscription, Skillshare is providing that for the Geek crew. All you need to do is scan the QR code on this screen, click the link in the description or the one in the pinned comment to take advantage of that opportunity. And it's not just limited to gardening courses, of course. There are all the other ones you get access to for as well.
Thank you, Skillshare, so much for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back into the 5 ingredients you can add to your soil to help improve it. I'm going to get this one out of the way because I feel like this one is probably the most obvious, and that is organic material. If you watched the video that I put out about soil structure versus soil texture, you know I kind of repeatedly mentioned organic material and how it plays into those 2 items. Organic material obviously releases plant nutrients. It stabilizes the soil structure, which is what we talked about in that last video. It increases the water holding capacity, and then it obviously reduces compaction. A meta-analysis published by Soil Biology and Biochemistry found that soils that are higher in organic material typically produce more food and or are more productive in regards to flowering. The reason being is got a lot to do with how it actually physically changes the structure, not so much the nutrients. A soil that has 5% organic material by volume can hold more water, can hold more nutrients, can allow for more oxygen. Now, all 3 of these being increased can then increase the ability for microbes to nutrient cycle, roots to be able to respire, and ultimately a happy, healthier environment on a micro scale for the 2 big components that make soil active or alive, plant roots and microbes. Now, organic material does not have to be sophisticated. Yes, it can be compost, and it could be purchased compost or compost from the yard. But it could also be peat, it could be leaf mold, it could be manure, it could be vermicast. It can be decomposed mulch, old crop residues. So long as it is organic, you are ticking the box of this edition. Number 2 is soil disturbance. So here's the thing. If you're talking about something like a raised bed, I actually would advise you against disturbing that soil, only because the aggregation is going to be your friend when it comes to ability to hold water along with nutrients, microbes, organic material, etc., and so forth. But if you're talking about an in-ground bed, particularly a brand new in-ground bed that is very obviously compacted, you need to introduce tillage. You need to introduce organic material. You need to fluff, if you will. Now, over time, you can stop doing this, but you want to do kind of that initial turnaround to be able to allow for oxygen, water, and microbes to begin the process of making a proper soil structure. If you were talking about something like a container garden, however, we want to ensure we are roughing up that soil every single year repeatedly. So ultimately speaking, the addition in this case, many times is actually us manipulating that soil fluffing it, reintroducing organic material, airspace, etc., and so forth. Number 3 is actually keeping the soil covered. I cannot, and this is coming from someone who actually didn't believe in the power of mulch until she started to try it. Mulch doesn't just control erosion. It controls temperature swings. It also controls the loss of water. It controls microbe health and the loss of organic material. Soil microbes in general, and I know this from actually researching material or products that were going to be introduced to the market as soil microbe products. I know this for a fact. The bacteria within your soil loves dark, cool, and moist. And if you don't have mulch, that means that the interface in which these microbes exist in is lower in that soil profile. So if we want the soil profile to have microbial activity from top to bottom, we need to introduce the mulch. USDA soil health trials actually showed that it not only increased the microbial activity, but it reduced the reduction or the evaporation of water from 30 to 70%, which is huge. Now, because mulch is an insulator, I personally will remove it in the fall to allow or ensure, or the spring at least, to allow and ensure that the soil warms up quicker than it typically would if the mulch was left in place. And again, this is specific to cold climate gardeners, so some of you may not fall into this bucket. But once things begin to grow, germinate, and I'm seeing some true leaves, I will pop that mulch on top. My personal favorite mulch, hands down, absolutely is going to be grass clippings. Sounds weird, sounds bizarre, but trust me when I say this, it is the best mulch you can add to a soil, whether it's raised bed, containers, or in ground. Second best is going to be shredded leaves or leaf mulch. Third best is going to be peat, just straight peat or coconut coir. And then all the fancy ones kind of fall down from that. The next one is ensuring that there are roots in your soil all year long. Now, you're probably thinking in a cold climate, how is that possible? That is possible via just actually cutting the plant at the base and then composting the top portion, but leaving the bottom portion in the ground without ripping everything out in the fall. This is important because these roots actually feed your soil and your microbes. Your soil stays incredibly active even when everything is very cold outside, because it takes a long time for that soil outdoors to cool down and for roots and etc. and so forth to go to sleep. So while there are no leaves on the trees, there's a lot actually taking place below ground. So if we leave these roots in place, we're obviously supporting microbe activity and health. We're increasing nutrient cycling and health. And then we are in turn increasing oxygen penetration as those roots decompose and disappear over time, allowing oxygen to penetrate lower into that soil system and ultimately make macro and microfauna much more happy. Next one is actually balancing your soil chemistry. If your soil is too acidic or too alkaline, it can have a huge effect on microbial activity, nutrient uptake of plants, etc., and so forth. There's a video that I recently did and or is coming out immediately after this one about using tap water, groundwater, or dugout water in your garden and how the pH of that can actually affect what ultimately your soil chemistry becomes over time and how you can counteract that, particularly if we're talking alkaline soil, as the years progress. Now, that one component is just for water, but I encourage you to look at what types of fertilizers you're using and how those are affecting your soil chemistry, along with naturally what your soil chemistry is sitting at and how you can remedy that. And I have a ton of videos on that concept. This one in particular goes into really deep depth on soil chemistry and how you can change it or not change it depending on your situation. And that is actually what Google says you should watch next based on what you've been searching. So they're creepy. I know. I can't fix that. I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.